last year?
I think it was all like 3s. Yeah, 2s were separate.
Yeah.
So I might as well just do it at my own pace and then work on the road race a little bit more.
Each the day of the road race, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why it's like, because I went pretty deep for the time trial last year.
Yeah.
And
cooked you.
Yeah, didn't really do anything.
What was the time trials? How long was that?
It was like 9 miles.
Yeah, 9 miles plus another 90. So you had a 100-mile day.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I got to get up that damn climb.
It's not a bad climb.
It's not bad. No, yeah.
But we'll recon it like 20 times before the race.
Are you talking about the climb going into the town or the
Coming
climb
out.
going out?
Going out.
Oh,
yeah.
It's one of those, if you've done it enough, there's places where you can really use people to set the pace and get in a draft, because it's fast enough. Drafting does help a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big chain ring climb anyway. And then everybody goes too early. Always.
Really?
Yeah, always. Because you get, and it's kind of a false flat, and people are like, and then you have to turn to the finish line. It's just a little bit. And it's still slightly up. Anyway, that's just
I wasn't with anybody at that point. I was with a couple people, actually. I can't say that I wasn't. What's that?
Other than your tears? Just me and my tears.
My tears and my imaginary friends. They understood.
Yeah.
They let me take the sprint.
They like me.
They do. God damn it. Time to play bikes. All right. Proper road racing is back. At least it is down under. You know where the women glow and the men plunder? Paul knows that lyric.
Yeah.
Jackson got crickets from Jackson. All I know is where I live, it's still dark and cold. Oh, and you're keeping track. The president is still old. That's the only political thing I'm going to say tonight. Welcome to episode 464, the longest standing podcast in the sport of cycling. This is the one and only Packfiller Cycling Podcast. Think of us as a post-ride beer with several friends and one asshole. Chances are I could potentially be that asshole because we went from 5 to 3. My name's Pat Bulger, and with me are some of the unusual suspects, the prognosticators of pedaling, the Peloton's pundits, otherwise known as the Pack Filler. And as normal, we like to keep things organized around here like a proper stage race, so that's why we start with tonight's prologue, brought to us by our friends at Scratch Labs. Without Scratch in your bottle, why even bother to start? Pure clean energy, recovery, and so much more from Scratch. Use our link. Tonight's prologue question is, who is your favorite Waples and why? No, I'm kidding.
Easy.
Yeah.
Gus.
That's a slam dunk there.
Shit, yeah. Show's over. That was the quickest show we ever did. Both of them are assholes.
Mama Waples.
Yeah,
is the proper answer.
Mama Waples, exactly. The question tonight is, what brand and flavor of ice cream is your favorite? And maybe a little why if you want to dive deeper into your junk food habit. I don't consider ice cream a junk food. I consider ice cream
a food group.
All right, we are Waples free tonight, which of course means we have well-organized discussion. Let's see who's here. Tonight's introductions are what I imagine the last item of importance of their training plans is. Last item of importance in their training plans. So first off, spinning and leg speed, Mr. Paul Main.
Yeah.
Before we went on the air, you were saying that the climb in the RC3 is a big ring climb.
It is.
It is for me too.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck you guys.
Your laughter stopped real fast
Yeah,
when
it
your
did.
son said,
Oh, it might have been.
I guess I'm just a baby.
I can't. Yeah. I'm just a little boy. I can't remember if I did. I was just too. We did it twice, and you did it 3 times, Jackson.
The third time I just didn't really care. But the first 2 times,
yeah. But is it high end of the cluster, big ring, or is it middle?
Yeah, you're up towards your lower gears in the back.
Depends on how fast you're going too.
Yeah, and what?
Thanks.
It's all about position where you're putting yourself.
Yeah. All right. Okay, spinning and leg speed. How are you, first of all, Paul?
Good.
And second of all, talk to me about ice cream.
Ice cream. So the ice cream I like is Haagen-Dazs, and it used to be Java chip. I think it's mocha or mocha Java chip and stuff like that. Yeah,
okay.
Haagen-Dazs is pretty darn good. Now, there's a better ice cream that you can get local here, the Scoop.
Yeah.
And that used to be in my old neighborhood, and their ice cream is
made in-house.
Made in-house with biggest heavy. In fact, it's local farms. I believe she uses local farms for cream and stuff. And they do it right in house. You can watch them make it.
Like liquid nitrogen, don't they use to freeze it? Yeah. Which is.
And they have a mud pie that's really good.
Oh wow!
And then they have a molasses cookie one that's also good. So, but if I'm out of town, then I'm gonna go for Haagen-Dazs.
Okay. Second of all, endurance and cornering in dirt.
Yeah,
Mr. Jackson Bulger.
Yeah,
I figured you were saying at the onset of the show, it's like that road race, man. I want to do the 90 miles, but I don't really give a shit.
Yeah. It's not my forte, which is I'm completely fine with.
Yeah.
No. There's the other ones are funner, funner. I'll say funner. They're funner anyways.
Yeah, okay. I'll let you have that. English major.
Yeah. My ice cream though, I really like. See, it's funny you mentioned the Scoop because that's where I was gonna go. It's the Scoop's mint chip.
You're a mint chip guy.
I am.
Okay.
And they don't use the green food coloring.
No.
It's like a clean white, and it's they use like the I don't know if you would call it shavings. It's not like chunks as in like a cube. It's like flat pieces.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like Ben and Jerry's size of things.
Bigger than that.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
They're like shards, maybe you could say.
Okay.
Yeah. It makes it way better, I find.
Okay.
When you can actually chew it instead of break a tooth on the.
I don't think I've ever had ice cream from there, and that's a
Oh,
bad
that's
person.
gosh.
That's
Crazy.
bad on my part, man. How
we
dare
went
I?
for rides there a couple of times.
We were there at like 8 a.m. for coffee, and that was it.
We should end one there now.
Damn.
I used to go and get an affogato.
Oh, okay.
There.
Yeah.
And those were good, but they don't do coffee anymore.
Yeah.
Well, you can get drip coffee, but it's not the same.
At the bagel place. Yeah.
Which is also really good.
Yeah, it is. Me, last thing on my training program is positive mental attitude. I'm Pat Bulger, and my ice cream flavor. Funny you said Haagen-Dazs. My Haagen-Dazs, but just regular coffee. I love coffee flavored ice cream. It's always been my go-to.
Theirs is really good.
Yeah,
the coffee's really good.
I could down a whole pint in a sitting. I guarantee I could. I'm
Just
so glad to
one?
hear that. Well, I'm so glad to hear that because everybody's like going, "Oh my God, there's so much ice cream." I'm like, "Shut the fuck up!" But you can eat a whole pint. Can't you?
That's easy. I would
like a
never
single
save
serving.
Haagen-Dazs. If I buy it, it's gone.
Yeah.
I'm looking, 1,200 calories.
Yeah.
What the hell?
I'll do sit-ups while I'm eating it.
Doesn't matter.
Sit-ups.
Yeah. I rode hard today.
Yeah, exactly.
Gentlemen, how is your cycling life? Talk to me.
Dad.
Oh, boy.
It's been pretty good.
Good?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Great. How many days?
I think I did 4. And then I also did some weights in there too. I've started a training plan with System.
Good man.
Yeah.
I had to miss one, and it's criterion based.
Oh, okay.
So this is cool that you can like choose your form of like race category, which I'm really loving. And then it takes all my information. Like I'm a sprinter in System.
Yeah.
And so it like takes that and it caters it to it. And it's been really good. I've actually done some base miles.
Wow.
So you said endurance.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that last though.
Well, it's because
it was last.
the
on
thing
your
I
training.
cared about the least.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
He mentioned the fun stuff first.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had to do one where it was like, it at the outset it said if you have a trainer set to erg mode, turn it off.
Okay.
And all of the other ones that I've ever done on System, I've been like, doesn't matter. This one, however, has like 8 high like pink.
Oh, it's like you're
max.
in a race, though. It's all over the place.
Well, no, this one is a little different. It's just like flat, and then it goes to pink, which is like, as you said, the max or neuromuscular. And it was 1,010.
Wheel just stopped.
I did 2 of them, and I was like, I can't do 16 of these back to back. So I just turned the erg mode off right then and there. I was like, okay, that was good advice.
Yeah.
But it's been good.
See, shit. This was what kills me. We all found out last week my problem with subscriptions. I have Ruby. I have Zwift. I don't think I have any other cycling platforms. But now I want back. I want System back.
See, I'm even thinking about dropping the Z one.
Really?
Yeah.
This segment sponsored by.
Well, I didn't say it.
Well, there aren't any other that start with Z.
That's
Well,
for you to figure out.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just because,
Zip?
yeah,
Zip?
we're all wondering,
Yeah,
yeah. Just
Swift.
because just because I've been finding myself solely sticking on this training plan,
Oh. See, I like the racing element on Zwift.
and that's what System does not have,
Yeah.
obviously.
And Ruby, I paid for accidentally because it just re-upped. So I'm like, shit. Guess I got it for another year. So now I want 3.
Well,
But that's too much.
Yeah.
That's way too much.
Yeah.
Son of a- And Ruby's
Well,
workouts are good.
Yeah, and just do, rotate. Next
Yeah.
year, just
Drop
do,
one,
Yeah,
pick up
drop
the
one.
other.
Yeah.
Paul, how's your cycling life?
I got I think 3 indoor training sessions in, and then a good 1 hour yoga session in.
Okay.
So all right, I'm with the sun out, even though it was like 28 degrees. I was like, I need to be outside. I'm ready to ride, and it's dry enough. And up until my 50s, I would be on my bike.
Yeah.
But it's I can't do that.
Yeah.
we stepped outside today for recess, and okay, I wasn't the one participating in the recess, but I stepped outside and I looked at the playground and I went, "This is starting to feel like spring a little bit."
Yeah.
Really?
It's 31 degrees, and I was like,
man.
"Damn, it's spring
Yeah.
already!" But
Yeah.
we're getting there.
Yeah.
My week was not good. I got one rowing workout in on, I think, Tuesday morning. And then I got one ride in on Saturday. And I started to earlier in the week, I started to kind of feel that, the little bit of a cold coming on. My first cold, honestly, truly since COVID. Mm-hmm. I just haven't had one, knock on wood. And everything was good, but I don't know if it was, and I don't know if it's me getting sick or if it was the stress from work, but I did, and I said this before we went on air, I started to have a little bit of a heart issue, and I'm like, oh shit, here we go. February's coming up. The last 2 Februaries in a row, I've had a freaking ablation procedure done, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm back in AFib. This fucking sucks. God, I hate the world. Don't talk to me. I'm going to just dig a hole. And the weird thing about it was, though, is my resting heart rate was still staying low. So I was having this irregular, just kind of an occasional dunk, but my heart rate was staying around 50s, 50s and low 60s when I'm just hanging out. So I'm like, okay, what's going on? This is weird. Why won't this? What's the case? And so I kind of laid back on training because I didn't want to, if it was approaching an AFib moment, I didn't want to, make it worse or, well, those types of things. So fortunately, I talked to good old Dr. David, who's supposed to be at the end of the bar, and he told me it was something completely different and nothing to be concerned about. And I was telling him, I'm like, okay. Yeah, and then my electrocardiol whatever his title is, told me the same thing, and I'm going to go in for this, just a little EKG kind of a thing, which is going to cost me $600. $600
You
out
know
of
how many
pocket.
subscriptions you could buy
No,
with that?
exactly. Yeah. I pay my insurance. Why am I paying with my deductible? I'm paying $600 for them to put 12 or something electrodes to me and go, yeah, you're right. You've got a regular heartbeat. Mm-hmm. Pay at the door.
So stupid.
So anyway, so David, he says you can still go fast on a bike even if that bothers you. And it's been kind of going down since, so that's the good thing. So I should be good to resume. And the doctor told me I was good to resume. But it did take away from the week, and that really bummed me out, especially because of 3-day weekend. I'm like, yeah, I can get a couple in. No, none of that shit. So speaking of which, I kind of want to mini topic this before we go. Do you guys have a, quote, stressful time of the year, end quote? And if so, what time of year is it? Or is it just an ongoing thing? Or is it you guys just live stress-free in a bubble of pure joy, rainbows and unicorns and all that shit?
I have found recently my stress level has gone up a little bit being in school.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting thing because the way I go to school is nobody's putting that pressure on me except for myself. And so right now it just kind of goes until I finish a class, and then it kind of goes until
fuck. The recording stopped at 10 minutes.
Oh.
Well, we're online. I can get that. We're streaming there. I'll just go off that. I'll get that audio.
But anyways, yeah, it just goes until the class ends, and then it picks back up. So right now it's kind of all the time, but at a level that's not really that high, if that makes sense.
Really?
Yeah.
Paul, do you get a seasonal stress?
No, I think I do get seasonal affective disorder, a little bit of depression, but it's not stress. I would say it's just depression. And today, even though it's cold, it's nice to have the sun.
Yeah. Oh
sun
my
out
God,
there.
that
It was
helps.
like, I mean, just even my wife worked this weekend, and we're getting more daylight pretty rapidly, and I think it's like 52 days now. And it'll be light at 7:00 at night
52 days.
in 52 days.
Yeah. Spring's not that far.
No,
realistically.
it's awesome.
Oh God, you guys are.
I had
optimists.
joy in my heart today because of the sun.
Yeah.
But I have stressful. Christmas time was always stressful for me in the early days because I wasn't a rich man, and
Sure.
presents and all this. It just seemed like I was working 2 jobs and trying to get ends to meet. And
Yeah.
but that's all gone because I work for the city now and in public sector. So it's like, whatever. Oh, I got to go to work today. Okay. So I think just life, elderly parents, both my wife and
Sure.
I are going through that. And so there's a little bit, but it's nothing compared to what we used to.
So it's not like
When you get older, it's like,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
So it's not like a set season, like
No.
tax attorneys have.
or
April
if you're producing a play or something.
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
my November through first week of February are usually the worst, just because. Well, I go basically 6 months of rehearsals and 6 months off, 6 months on, 6 months off, because I do shows back to back, and that does tweak me out a little bit. I have a feeling that even if I was dealing with adults, it'd be just as bad or just the same thing. So trying to deal with all that. So yeah, it does pick up, and that's why personally I think that could be a contributing factor to why my symptoms kind of flare up this time of year. How would you rate yourself in terms of your ability to deal with stress, work and life related stress? You think you're pretty good at it, or are you like, I freak out, go into the shower, rock back and forth, cry my eyes out?
I would say that I mean, other people can speak on this that are outsiders, but I would say that I'm pretty good at it. I like to think that I'm the type of person that if I'm stressed, I'll let the people that need to know, and let the outside world just like not really show that there's anything going on.
You hide it then?
A little. It depends on the person.
Yeah.
I'll talk to my wife about it if I'm actually feeling any sort of stress at all, but
Yeah.
I don't really need to, talk to my coworkers and be like, "Oh shit,
Yeah.
got a paper due."
Oh my God.
Like
Yeah,
I
they
don't
don't give
need
a
to.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Are you any good at it?
Yeah, I'm much better with dealing with it now. Like I said,
Yeah.
I think you just lose all you're rounded from the river of life, rounds off those tough edges.
Yeah.
But I used to like hit the ceiling every once in a while. Like the hatred of 1,000 men.
Yeah.
Pushing down in my belly, you just cram it down and try and hold that until I could taste the bile in the back of my mouth.
Yummy.
Of 1,000 men.
Oh yeah.
Anybody got a breath mint?
Yeah.
I sold that from Cheers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm okay dealing with it. I do. I think with the amount I deal with, and I try not to bring it home. I'll bark at the TV or something like that, or I do have a short fuse, but hopefully I think that once the fuse is lit, it burns out pretty quickly. Jackson, am I wrong?
I mean, I think it just depends on what it is.
Yeah.
Like at the training series.
Yeah.
Like that incident. You just
Yeah, that went away pretty quick, I will say. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it did. Did it?
I thought it did.
I was over by the time we left the venue.
That's pretty quick.
Okay, good.
yeah.
That's like less than an hour. I think if it's under an hour, that's like
That's pretty good time.
does anyone even remember?
I handle stress well when I can control it. When it's something I am, for example, my work-related stress. I do get the moments where I wake up in the middle of the night and I go like, okay, Pat, this isn't helping.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to sleep. And I just let my mind go to something else and I go to sleep. I'm not the kind of person who stays up all night freaking out. I just don't.
Mm-hmm.
My wife's the opposite. She'll be like, bing, or she's
Right.
paying attention to something all night like that. Does it affect your cycling life?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if this counts as stress really interacting with my cycling life, but like certain days, I'll get off later than others, and like I'll get off work later than others.
Yeah.
And I'll be on my way home and I'll be like, I can't ride today because I have schoolwork going on, and it just like it piles up, and then that kind of stresses me out. But I don't know if it really like the stress itself affects my cycling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a very stressful period of my life, and that is probably my practice marriage.
Yeah.
And it did affect in the long run. I was full of piss and vinegar because I was angry, but I wasn't performing. I think you just like this have this massive fuse, and an explosion, and then I was out of gas. It did not work to my favor. So.
Does it help? Does cycling help with the stress relief, or does it just compound things? Because I'll find moments where I'm like, I can't work out today, and then that stresses me out. That bothers me because I'm like, God, I really wanted to go ride this weekend, or I wanted to do this, and so that bothers me. But then again, I'll also find times when I come home and I'm like going, God, I've just had too hard of a day. I just can't go. I can't. I'm just I just want to sit down and have a beer. But then there are the days when I come home and I do go out, and it 98% of the time, there have rarely been times when I've gone out going, oh man, I shouldn't have gone riding. Most, if not all the times I come home and I go, God, that helped. That, kind of cleared the cobwebs a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty cliche to say, but there have been a couple rides where I've gone like, nope, a couple blocks away from the house. I'm like, nope. I'm pissed off already, and now my shifting's all fucked up, and I'm going home. I'm going to throw this bike in the dumpster, and I'm going to piss on the ashes.
Yeah.
But, it's, I'm sure it helps, right?
Yeah.
I have a great way of just making that separation. Hop on the bike. I've never hopped on the bike and thought, even afterwards or even in the middle of it, thinking I should be back home doing blah. Or
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've never. But there's many times where I'm thinking I probably shouldn't ride. Maybe you do a little work around the house or something.
Yeah.
And that's when I always regret. I always regret not riding. I never regret riding.
Yeah.
That's how it's always worked for me.
I think that's a great way to think about it, especially like now is the time of year where I can just skip it. I'll reschedule it for another day. But every time I don't do that and I just go through the workout, whether it be on the trainer or it's not going to be outside this time of year, it just I feel much more like relieved at the fact that I did that, and I feel like I can go into my other activities like rejuvenated in some weird way. I'd love for that mentality to be explained, but it's definitely like a nice feeling to know that you accomplished that and you're doing other things at the same time.
It's rewarding because you didn't cave in to the demon.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's what it is. It's just like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I showed you.
Yeah, exactly.
What I always hear is that voice in the back of my head going, rest is important. You really should emphasize rest.
Beer and rest.
Yes. Carbo load.
Hey, look at the bag of chips.
Yeah. I'll just have a couple.
Yeah. Just a couple.
Yeah,
these are good.
Haagen-Dazs are single servings.
Just 10 of those and I'll be done.
Yeah. But, and then, there's that cross. And then because it was interesting with David saying, that he'll set that objective for a 30-minute workout. I am still struggling with the fact that 30 minutes can constitute a workout. And that, I don't, that in itself makes me think 30 minutes, I'm wasting my time. It's not enough. I mean, if I'm going to do 30 minutes, I might as well just go sit on the couch. But then again, a lot of preseason crits are just over that, not much over that, so much to work into the brain and dealing with that. How about, Paul, you mentioned yoga. Does anybody practice any kind of mindfulness exercises, things where you meditative states, not, full on legit, but, relaxation techniques and anything like that? Any of you guys incorporate any of that stuff?
With yoga, I will.
Yeah.
It depends on where I'm at, but there's been some when it's quiet I can do it, and then that's nice relaxing. There's times where at the end of practicing yoga you kind of lay and just kind of like
Yeah.
relax. And there's times where I'm just like
Yeah.
I feel like
Mhm.
Jello, you know.
Yeah.
So and it's a good. You kind of get up and you're like, hey, wow, man,
Yeah. Yeah.
who slipped me the gummy?
I get that though, because when I was in college in Portland, I took this is gonna be the most like theater major thing that I've ever said in my life.
Yeah, yeah.
But we took a movement class.
Yeah.
Probably, and I'm not bashing the education at all, but genuinely probably the most useless class I ever took. Except we did some guided meditations at some point, and I found real benefit in those for myself. I would find myself, like you said, almost like becoming liquid, just like really enjoying the moment. But I don't really do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I found, as I mentioned last week, I found that like there are little things here and there that like I need to do to just kind of like chill my brain out, because we have so much coming at us at all the times. And I found that like reading does kind of like give me that like meditative state a little bit. It's just one thing I'm focusing on, kind of like writing.
Yeah.
I'm only focusing on the bike, or I'm only focusing on the words in front of me, and that kind of helps me just like zero in that a little bit relaxed state.
I'm kind of in a mix of both of those. Paul, you and I were talking about this the other day about reading, and if I read in bed, I maybe will make it 10 minutes, maybe, and then I'm out. And I really do enjoy it, but sometimes I just can't do it. I tend to, like we were saying, get most of my quote reading end quote on the bike with audio stuff like that. And anything, like you say, to take your brain out of where you are, all the bullshit, and take that away it's nice, but it's hard.
Well, and something that I have found, and I know that you pay for because I've used it, is the
subscription.
Yeah, well, is Apple Fitness does this thing where they do meditations, and it can be up to 30 minutes or to 5 minutes.
Really?
And it's just like they kind of guide you through it, and it's really nice. Sometimes I used to do it last year, and I would wake up, or not wake up, it felt like I wake up, but I would get up and I'd be like, wow, that did kind of like just bring me down from all of like the stuff of the day. So
I
just
think
a suggestion.
Yeah, I think that it's strange. Everybody's different. Yeah. So when I had a severe crash and a crit and I got whiplash, I went and had some acupuncture done. Never had it done before. And so in fact, the guy he's really studied quite a bit. He's traveled around the world, and he's here in Spokane. He's a super nice guy and a mountain biker.
Okay.
So he has all that. Yeah.
You'll still forgive him.
Yeah. Well, he writes road too.
Okay.
But his passion is mountain. Yeah. But nevertheless, I'm thinking how I'm going to respond. You're basically, because of where my position, I was face down in like a massage table. Yeah. And get the little donut, you got your face in there. And he says, I'll be back in 20 minutes. And all of a sudden, he goes, how you feeling? Pretty good? He goes, I'm going to pull him out. Has that been 20 minutes? I went, poof. Like, wow. I remember the door closing, that was it. And then he was tapping me on the shoulder.
Really?
I was out like a light. And then I had knee problems, and he did the same thing. I had acupuncture. It knocks me out.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. I just like so relaxed. It's just like the whole body just turns into jelly again. So
interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if everybody has that same effect, but it did for me.
I'd love to get more into like the physical wellness of like the massage and the, acupuncture, things like that. I'd love to understand that a little bit more, because I feel like it does have a lot of good benefits.
Yeah.
The system has that mental training too. I don't know if you've tried it or anything like that. I remember I downloaded it once just because they were part of the show and stuff like that, and I wanted to see what the big deal was, and I couldn't take it seriously. I'm listening and they're going, okay, now think, what is your inner Mount Sufferlandria? How can you? Yeah, I'm not making shit up. How can you conquer your Mount Sufferlandria? And I'm like going, I can't do this, man. I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
And I don't want my mindfulness necessarily to be goal oriented. And I understand from the athletic standpoint, you pick a goal, you pick a solid event, whatever it may be, and you want that to be what you're basing your training for, and you back program from there. I get it, but I still just personally, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you guys do, but I don't have necessarily a single event goal this year. Sure. I mean, I just kind of want to be fit and
be the ball Danny.
Yeah. I just want to be where everything play it as it lies. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Stress. Does I'm going to ask the blunt question. Does food or drink help you with it? Help you relieve?
No.
Not really.
Really?
Nope.
My coming home, sitting with my wife and having a beer at 5:00 is very likely one of the most important things of my day.
Yeah.
And my stress relief.
I mean, I would agree with that because that is like the activity of like
community
surrounding. Yeah. It's the surrounding of it. So like, me coming home and like having dinner with my wife, all that type of stuff is like very much like a stress reliever. Yeah. But I don't know if I would necessarily categorize it as like the food that we eat or the drink that we have. Yeah. I would just say like it's that activity.
It coincides. Yeah.
I would agree on that. And that same kind of experience when I come home from work, like nowadays we all have like a cup of coffee together and stuff and chat.
Yeah.
In the summer, go outside and have a beer, that type of thing. So I don't think it's actual, like you were saying, that whatever we were partaking in, it's more of, communicating to each other and that type of stuff. So
I'm going to cross the road. Does our current political climate have any effect on you?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Stuff.
You're just going to let it go?
Yeah. It's not something I can control. I mean, with trying to step around this whole political thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
To me, it's, I'm going to go a different direction. It's going to go too deep, but I think that the thing that I have more of a control over is voting locally.
Sure.
Than nationally. You just do what you can do.
Yeah.
And hopefully it works to everybody's favor. Even if it's a person, I'm at the point right now, I don't care what affiliation they are. I just want things better.
Yeah.
I want clean streets.
Yeah.
I want people to be happy. I don't want this constant feuding, red and blue thing. I'm done with that. All that. I don't feed my soul with anything that's going to, all these like news channels and everything else are echo chambers, whatever you preside on.
Yeah.
That's all they are. It's just like, he just stokes that fire, and I quit watching. It's just too much.
I have a hard time with it. The climate does bother me. And I find that the more and I think we brought this up on the show, the more I watch any of those news sources, the more it builds stress within me, and it affects other areas of my life. And I'm trying my best to read all of my news sources, and I'm trying my best to maybe listen to a little, podcast, news-based podcast from one of the reliable sources on the way or to and from work. And then I really don't want to watch the TV news. And that's where I run into a kind of a roadblock. My wife wants to watch it every day. She likes to watch it every day. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in the kitchen and just do something else. And the TV is within eyesight of the kitchen, and we have a remote speaker in the kitchen. So though I'm in the kitchen, I'm basically looking for the biggest knife to throw at the TV because it enrages me. It makes me so frustrated, and it's hard. I've got to find a way to, I wish that was the time of night where I could just go hop on the bike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I like to cook, so I'm the one cooking dinner. And it just becomes this poor beer.
Yeah. I think when it comes to the political part of it all, like, I think if I really got into it, I think, like you said, I would get pretty upset about it.
Yeah.
But I just have I set my few stipulations out there. I think that as long as my wife and women are able to make their own choices, and as long as I'm able to do my job in the way that is just for the students' experiences and educational purposes that come into my classroom, those are the things that I'm really prioritizing right now. Mm-hmm. And there are other very large issues. I understand that. But I really need to prioritize those things.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And in saying that too, on the political environment, I found myself kind of gravitating to different YouTubes where show both sides.
Yeah.
Not in a heated. I want a controlled discussion about things. And there's times where I'll find myself on this side. That guy on the other side made a good argument.
Yeah. And
I want that challenge, as opposed to if you watch, I'm going to just say mainstream TV, whatever, if it's Fox or MSNBC, they all are echo chambers, and that's where I was getting myself just like stirred up. But I wanted that like challenge, is like, okay, I really kind of on this side, that guy's got a good point, that type of thing. Because I think a lot of, and it applies to cycling, I'll bring it back to cycling too, our experiences in cycling and everything is based on how we got there. Mm-hmm. And it's our perspective. My pathway was, you started as a junior. Mine, I was 22 years old, so it was a little bit later. I was on the cusp of the peak, and then the downfall, and I never quit, and I couldn't figure out why everybody quit road racing and went mountain biking. But still, nevertheless, it's still a part of me, and I'm happy with racing amateur. When the environment, when I came into cycling, was it's all or nothing, and you look down at other categories, it's like, that guy's still a Cat 4.
Yeah.
And it's like, if he's happy there and he's having a ball racing like we do now, that guy's a lot happier than that pressure of going to the next category or getting to the next level. And everybody I know in cycling, majority, there's a few that are still road cycling, but that was their goal, was to go as far. As soon as they hit that table or ran out of gas, they're done. They don't even touch the bike anymore.
You have no idea how I'm about to skip like 2 or 3 more questions in this topic, because my main topic for the night was keeping it fun. I always end up, this is a slow time of year. We all can admit this is a slow time of year for cycling. But I always sit back and wonder, not necessarily the motivational edge of it, because we've talked a lot about motivation, but the longevity. And I'm sure the three of us in this moment could probably list cycling as one of your most passionate hobbies and part of your lifestyles. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
For all of us, it's been at least a decade, if not multiple. Mm-hmm. Paul, you said you were 22? 22. Yeah, I was 13.
That's 40 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah, I was 13. And what I want to talk about is how we're able to keep going even after setbacks, lifestyle changes, and the classic American short attention span. What made me think of this was, I don't know if you guys are watching the Santos Tour Down Under. The first stage was yesterday, and I've been excited for a few days. Just not, and I enjoyed the women's edition too. It was a lot of fun to watch that one also. And I brought up the feed on Monday to happily learn that it was a full stage coverage. It was like 4:30. It started here
It's going on right now. Stage 2.
And it is full stage coverage, like gun to finish line.
Wow,
including the neutral zone before it, and we were still in the neutral zone. I just sit back and I'm like going, okay. And my wife, bless her heart, was cool with watching for a little bit. And then after a while, I could tell she was kind of like, she started looking at her phone and stuff like that. And it was, the news was on. So she wanted to watch that kind of stuff. And highly understandable. Needless to say, I checked back about 3 hours later to watch the end of the race. And it got me thinking about this, that I've been, 13, I'm 55, do the math. That's a long freaking time involved in this. And I think we can all agree that to the untrained bike racing on TV is kind of boring. Could we agree?
Mm-hmm. As a general, if you don't know what's going on,
What is it about the sport that would ever make you okay with 4+ hours of coverage? I was excited. I was like, yay! Oh, and Robbie McEwen's here. I'm going to snuggle in for 4 hours. And I just realized that's loony. That's just weird. I mean, football games aren't even that long, are they?
It depends on the game. They're 3 hours. Yeah.
3 hours? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, this was over probably 4 hours of coverage. So what would ever bring somebody to do that? And, what makes you want to do that? And would you do that? Would you watch the entire race? And I'm sure it depends on the race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think this is so interesting because I find myself sitting down at football games. I mean, what did I watch? I watched almost the whole Rams and Eagles game last weekend. And when it comes to a bike race, it depends on the race, but sometimes I will do that. I watched not this last year's because this last year's Paris-Roubaix was kind of boring.
What?
We all kind of knew what was going to happen.
Sinner.
Nah,
Yeah.
am I?
Yeah.
But the year prior, I did watch almost the whole thing. I don't think I skipped. I think I maybe skipped once.
Okay.
And sometimes it's just the excitement of it, but also there's this feeling of a warm blanket wrapped around you. And it's like, I don't know if cycling almost has to be like born with you a little bit for you to be able to do something like that for as long as the coverage will be. But I found that because I've been around it for so long, it's almost this nostalgic, like warm, comforting feeling when I watch a race like that. But see, I don't, and I'm interested to hear Paul's take. I don't know if I watch the whole thing sometimes for the ins and outs of the race. I usually watch the peak moments for the ins and outs, kind of tactical portions of the race.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, the tactical starts at kilometer 0.
Shit, it does.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Back in the old days, coverage didn't start till the last hour and a half.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you read stories about all these guys back then. They would basically sit there and chit-chat and talk, and they, as soon as the helicopters would come in, that was, you raced. The race was on. and you just don't. Now it's because we have full coverage. I'm wondering, that's part of maybe also the safety thing.
Yeah.
Not to take away full coverage, but you got guys trying to be from kilometer 0 creating. I mean, I'm not sure that TV's the 100% reason why they attack at kilometer 0, but
yeah,
nevertheless. But yeah, I like to have it. The comfort thing, to have it in the background, the pitch of you can hear. I can go and cook, make coffee, do whatever in the morning, that type of thing. But when it gets to you hear that high pitch voice, it's something's happening.
Yeah,
I can whip around and take a look at it. I have my iPad and then I have it up on the TV on the other room. So if I don't feel like I miss anything, and I do enjoy the whole 4 hours. Paris-Roubaix is like 6 hours long. So the first part I can kind of get away. I just like to see what the early tactics are, and then it kind of settles down for a little bit, even nowadays. I think to sell it as a package, I think, unfortunately for that average person who's not an avid cyclist, but the package that like Peacock does for the United States people, the U.S. people, it's all kind of done, with all these graphics. It drives me nuts. They have like arrow pointing, this is, Van Aert, and then blah, 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 and they're talking, and then you could see like the banners are all over on each side. And it's like, this is just too busy. I don't mind a little down below, but you have all these graphics. But it gets, I think, people in the United States a little more excited about the race.
And if you think about it, when you're watching a football game, chances are your team's going to score.
Yeah.
When you're watching a bike race, chances are your rider's not even going to be up there.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the day, depending on luck, depending upon the situation, depending on that kind of stuff. So it's just an interesting thing that we have all decided to fall in love with. Do you, Jackson, do you tend to just go to the highlight reels and watch that kind of stuff? I mean, I know that David is all about that, but or do you? I mean, does it depend on the race, or if you had a free schedule and every race was available full length, where would you draw the line?
Oh, I mean, I realistically watch from when's our first spring race?
Hit Nisblat.
Yeah,
and that'll be the first weekend of March.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll watch first weekend of March all the way until end of July. Then once kind of Vuelta comes, then I kind of really stop caring, just because it's
burnout.
Burnout. The school year starts. Yeah. All that stuff kind of goes, and I want to just start enjoying like the end of my summer. But no, I never really do highlight reels. I watch the whole thing. Not the whole thing. I'll fast forward through, the boring parts of the transition stage of the tour. But I watch. I always watch.
I will find myself doing that and that's why I do like live coverage, but I also like immediate access to it as soon as the stage is over, or even some formats where you can join in. If you wake up an hour and a half after it started, you can start at the beginning and slowly catch up.
I also don't want to wake up at 3:30 a.m.
Yeah, and that's what I mean.
Too.
You know, I'll get up at 7 and the race started at 4, you know, and I can kind of zap through, you know, use Max to be able to kind of zip through. I don't mean to bash the sport I love so much, but sometimes it's nice to be able to go, okay, the gap's at 8 minutes, and it's 3 guys, let's just kind of, now the gap's at 6, now the gap's at 4, it's 2,
nothing really
now
happens.
let's watch, you know? Yeah, and not to bash those poor guys back there. Switching gears in that same concept, probably over 70 combined years of cycling, bike riding, bike racing experience at this bar right now.
I'd say
think.
over.
Yeah.
Because you've been doing it for 42 years.
Yeah.
I'm 40, so we're at
Yeah.
82.
Oh, so
Yeah.
well over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got at least a decade in, at least.
Probably.
A decade in.
Yeah.
So, that's a long time. What is it that keeps you going? I know that 2 of the people of the 3 of us at the bar, the competitive element is what makes it happen. Is it just that, or why is it the competitive element that does it?
You know, so this is very interesting. So last week I was going through my schooling and I was talking about intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, intrinsic inside you, you're internally motivated. Extrinsic is external. You're motivated by a reward or something like that.
Yeah. The tears of your enemies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I find that if you're in this, you almost have to you have to be intrinsically motivated because the rewards are few and far between.
Sure.
The external rewards. And I think that when it comes to this sport, there is this weird intangible thing that is that competition. It's that pitting yourself against other people and like trying to outthink the other person, and it's that chess game that continues to keep me going back. The fact that, and it's also me trying to figure out the chess game at the same time because I'm a little bit newer into the higher levels of racing. And like this last year, I kind of like got a little key to it. But now I feel like after like, I'm the type of person that will really hate if something goes bad, but I'll in silence be willing to think about it by myself and like study it a little bit. And it's those moments that make me want to come back. It's I didn't do this perfectly the last time, and I want to try it a different way the next time. And that's what's great about cycling, and that's what we talk about year after year. You know, we always have next year. I do always have next year to do it a different way, to think about it in a smarter way. And that's the kind of thing that keeps me coming back. It's that constant like, oh, I get another chance to try my hand in a different, fun way.
Paul, one of your catchphrases, and I think this should be on your headstone, is next year.
Yeah. This starts next year.
What has kept next year going year after year after year?
I think kind of on the same lines as Jackson. I mean, for me, like even in my field in the trade as electrical, as much as I try to grasp all of it, there's always something to learn. There's always that keeps my interest. And I think even racing, you know, at an amateur level, that whole mentality of being able to make decisions at the right moment. And it's a different, you know, playing football, basketball, and baseball. It's based around a ball.
Yeah.
That's where the action is.
Yeah.
But there is stuff going out, and even, you know, football or soccer.
There's a Lance Armstrong
there's
joke in
like
there,
if
just
you
waiting. Sorry.
Well, one ball?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's a ball.
One ball man picking his hand. He's off to the rodeo. Anyway,
Elevator
left
left and elevator right.
fucking
Get on,
jerk.
you fucking don't get your right, left, right. That's a song from the 80s.
Yeah.
Piss me off.
You
Fucking jerk. Get on my nerves.
So anyway, but you know, that's the thing is that I'm constantly, even after 40 years, there's things like, I know what I did wrong, like you were talking about next time. But getting to the point, there was a period for me that in a race, the more you race, and it even happens like through the season, you get this this everything flows. There's not thanking, and this is part of my segment, so I'm trying not to step on it a little bit.
Yeah, we don't.
So, but nevertheless, it's just being able to make those decisions, and it's just a reflex, and there's a sense of joy when people are like, God, why'd you make that move? I didn't even think about it.
Yeah,
that's just what you do, you know, and that's that part. But there's always another step. We're like, damn, I should have done this, or you know, I should have marked that guy, not that guy, because I know that this guy, you know, this is not his forte, and that feeds my brain and feeds my soul and stuff. So that's why I keep going.
You know, I hate to compare it to the demon of athletics of all games, but golf. My father is an incredibly passionate golfer, always has been, and you'd think after a certain amount of time, you figure out the swing, man. You know, you've been doing it for 80 years.
Be perfect at it.
When are you going to figure out the swing?
Yeah.
But then I'll ask myself, Pat, when are you going to figure out tactics? You know, when are you going to nail that sprint perfectly? You've been doing this for 40 some years. Why can't you read a sprint perfectly? Why can't you know
even the best
where to be? Even know where to be on the climb to get yourself up to the top of that big ring climb and do those types of things. And I guess that's the other thing that keeps getting back. If you had figured it out and mastered it, and that's, I guess, why you were talking about the people who reach that category 2 or category 1 and then just leave the sport because they don't have that ongoing, okay, what's next, or where to from here.
Yeah.
And you almost see, too, that meteoric rise of some people who just start out as a Cat 4 and then 9 months later they're getting a contract from EF First or something like that. Those people tend to also burn out pretty quickly.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
So it's that slow burn, for lack of anything, that maybe keeps us all coming back. Paul, you and I have had to settle into the fact that we're not going to be the fastest guys in the APAC anymore. Was that a gradual coming to conclusions, or was that a 1 year it just kicked you in the nuts?
I can think of the year when things started, the wheels coming in. When I turned 53, I just thought it was just a bad year, and I never recovered after that. I mean, it's just,
okay.
Well, then it became just, you're getting old.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So I can actually pinpoint that particular year. I did have some physical problems with some knees because of my line of work and stuff like that.
Okay.
I had 18 cc's of fluid removed on one of them.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, because you're working on, but you're older, you don't bounce back anymore.
Yeah.
And then, it just became harder and harder. And it's like, why? I used to be able to recover after an effort like that. I'm not recovering. I got to train harder, and it's not coming back. So,
yeah.
But still, you just have to find another way to get it done.
Yeah.
When it comes to the APAC, especially at my age now, it's like, now it's a fitness thing. And if I can see an opening to kind of like just put a stick in the bee's nest, I could do that for a little bit. And if they're thinking, oh, that poor old man, I might get a little further, but that's about all I could do in an APAC if I can even do that now.
Yeah.
So
it is an interesting pill to swallow. And that, I guess, is the beauty of age categorized racing, is that you do still have, I mean, there are some mutants in our age groups, that we'll run into, and it's like, wait a minute, dude, what EPO tastes like candy canes or something like that because you have red lips. But it's just sometimes you just see that and you're going, wow, how much time are you putting in? And that kind of gets me. Jackson, could you ever see yourself as a 50-plus master racing someday?
It's interesting because as I've gotten a little older, you start to think about, like, what does aging look like?
Yeah.
You start to get...
Just eyes around the bar, buddy.
Yeah. I'm really opening up here, but sometimes you sit at night and you're like, shit, this is finite. Like, this isn't forever.
Yeah.
And maybe it's, the frontal lobe actually developing. Maybe it's that a little bit there. But
at 20.
Well, that's technically when it develops.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For men.
Yeah, for men. Yeah.
Some more than others.
Yeah, my wife's been smarter than
Long
me
gone,
for years.
Yeah.
She's on the decline.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I think about it sometimes. And I think about, that struggle, that having to think about the fact that, hey, I'm not always going to be 25.
Yeah. Well, don't let it depress you. But
No, it doesn't depress me, but it's just like, I think it's a healthy thing to come to the terms that you're not always going to be in your 20s.
Yeah.
That's just kind of how life goes. And to like have some sort of like understanding of that, I think is good. But no, it doesn't depress me.
Could you see yourself lining up in the 50s at a Twilight Series race?
Yeah.
Really?
I think it all depends on the community.
Yeah.
If Sam and David are doing it and you guys are still there, like,
they might be wheeling us up to
I'll
the
be
side
85.
of there.
Yeah.
They're wheeling us
You'll
up
still
to
be
the
there.
side
God
of
damn it.
Exactly.
But
Well, that's kind of my next question.
I'll sign up for the Ace.
Yeah.
Whatever. But thanks for your money.
Yeah.
Getting it back.
yeah. But I think that's what keeps me coming back is the fact that I've got people there that are like, hey, let's go do this and all talk about how terrible it was after.
That sometimes for me, I mean, and please don't take this at face value, but sometimes for me, I can almost envision myself, if I never was able to pay an entry fee and put on a number again, I would still keep doing it simply for that dynamic, those going for coffee and then going out for a ride and just having a good time. And I do have to admit that even as long as there's air in these lungs, I probably would still have to have the moments in the rides where one of you assholes goes super hard and I can't hold on. That I think is what keeps things going. And next time going, I'm going to hold on a little longer. Or, I used to be the one laying down the hurt, and I remember those days, and it was a freaking awesome feeling. But there's always somebody a little faster than you.
Always.
And so somebody you want to be able to catch up to or beat and stuff like that. And I think that's the great element about this tiered, style of the sport is that you're somebody who's always faster than you doesn't have to be Jonas Vingegaard, that kind of a thing, or Tadej Pogačar, or something like that. That would be so demoralizing that I could see hanging up my wheels just going, fuck this, I'm not going to do this anymore.
But isn't that it's like such an interesting thing about what we've come to experience is the fact that when we go out for a ride, it's not, I'm going to work out. It's, I'm going out for a ride. I'm going to socialize. I've stopped thinking about it as like, I have to go work out to be healthy.
Yeah.
It's just something I get to do.
I think that helps to have a good group of people that you're training with too, and good training partners, whether teammates or just even from a different team. My best rides or training periods are usually with, guys that you enjoy their company. Yeah. Even though there's probably 2/3 of it we're going hard of it so hard you can't talk, you're not talking, but say afterwards. And my practice wife used to get mad. You just got back from a 6-hour training ride and you're on the stinking phone talking to them about the ride because we didn't stop for beer back then, you know? And so now we just tie that up. We just shorten the ride up and then add the drinking onto it.
Yeah, it works.
So, yeah.
And would you say that those group rides like that, where there are, a certain amount of it where you're going as hard as you possibly can, would that equate to, would a coach look at you and say, keep doing that? Or would a coach say, we got to do more structured intervals, yada, yada, yada? Could you think about a lot of the pros do their training by themselves because they have to be able to monitor this and that. Is it worth winning a race to not ride with the gang?
See, something that really sung out to me was, Paul, what you were saying earlier is that sometimes just be in a Cat 4, be in a Cat 3, and as long as you're happy with it, then that's all that really matters. Because sometimes I think about it, and I know people that are in our current community right now that when they go out for a ride, they've got a structured interval workout loaded up, or they don't stop afterward to have beer with their friends after because they have structured intervals to do.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know if I really want to live that type of life when it comes to this sport, because I think that I dedicate a lot of time and energy to it, but if I just can't have fun every once in a while doing it, then I don't know if it's something I really want to do.
That's a great point, and I think that's why some people, like I mentioned earlier, that hit that level because everything was structured and there was no fun, and that they're just like, well, I've done everything that I need to do. I've done my intervals on these days and I'm not getting faster, so screw it. So, for me, it was just, I think, the joy of just going out with group rides. And then, back in our day, we had the 2 training races that we had a week, and then we had weekend races. Training rides were such a small part, and races were part of that environment too, because you're going, out of town, housing.
Yeah.
You're like we were planning on.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
Yeah,
There's a little
Turd
something.
bloom.
bloom.
There's
Yeah.
something about there. Yeah.
So, anyway, I think that's probably why a lot of people burn out. And it'll be interesting to see. I just heard a conversation with on Geraint Thomas's podcast with who was he talking to? Oh, Froome.
Oh.
But not on the show, but he had a conversation and how even racing in their time is different than training. That the new crop of riders, and they're 18, they're signing contracts 18, 19, 20 years old. Like right after COVID, there was like 30 of them were signed.
Yeah.
It's half now. It's only 15. And those riders never make it because everything is they weigh down their food. They have a scale they step on. Everything's recorded. And we were talking about stress earlier.
Yeah.
If that doesn't add stress. It's like, oh shit, I just gained half a kilo. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
I just will miss this meal and I'll add some more, that type of thing. And that takes the joy out of, well, at least amateur cycling. We don't get paid for that.
Yeah.
So, my take on it is, we like racing and this is our style. Coffee in the morning, coffee at the end of the ride.
Yeah.
Go out, hang out at a race and have fun. That's how you can, and you enjoy the race.
Yeah.
It's no stress.
Yeah. And I think that's an interesting thing, too, about amateur racing, as what I've found when it comes to being in your 20s. It's you do kind of think that as long as you continue to train and if you have the right results, there's a possibility you could make something out of this. And then I think you start to take it a little too seriously, and then it's not fun anymore. And then I think as you kind of get a little bit older, you have to grapple with the idea of this isn't necessarily like the thing that I thought it was going to be, that this is okay to have fun with. You don't have to take it as one of those things it's life or death. If you have a beer, if you go and eat out, it's just one of those things that you kind of have to realize it might not be worth changing your whole entire life for.
But are you willing to settle for letting the people who do make every single element of their life a part of it win the races that you wanted to train for? Thank you, sir. Like, for example, you got a guy who wastes his food. You got a guy who's on the verge of a divorce because he's out on his bike all the time. You got a guy who, spends his entire paycheck on a specialized insert brand name here. He's got all the bells and whistles. He shows up with, grease legs and probably something coursing through his vein. He's going to win the race. Are you okay going, well, he's going to be gone in 2 years and then some other prick's going to take his place and I'm going to probably end up taking, at best, second or third to that guy?
Well, that's what's so fun about this sport. You could have all that shit going on for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not always going to be the best on the day.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what keeps
tactical
us
game.
coming back to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even if it's year after year, it's that same guy. The whole motivation for me is figuring out where's the chink in his armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's part that gets me going, okay, we know this is where his strengths are, stuff, and this is my strength, and work against his weakness, or the team, or get a group of even 2 teams, if he's that strong, work together and let's put the fire out on this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's
that's the part that makes it fun for me.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, that made it good. I was going to ask when there was a downside, but I don't think I want to end with that because this has been a good discussion. My last question on this topic will be: when do you consider your glory days, and can there be multiple glory days?
That's what I worry about because I kind of think it's right now. So I got to drink it in.
Yeah,
and that's why I sometimes sit at night and go, this isn't going to last forever.
Well, smelling the roses is very good advice to be able to stop and take a step back and go, this is pretty effing cool right now, and appreciating the beauty within that. the cheesy term I refer to them are moments in your life you classify as Camelot. It's like, God, that was a magical time,
Yeah, and I mean, I reflected a lot on last year, cycling season-wise, and that was like it was my first year that I like got results.
Yeah.
And to like really understand the fact that this is now the beginning of a lot of years of being a part of that mix.
Yeah.
And that's like, it finally came with like development, like physically, like I'm finally at that place where I'm not really in that weird, awkward phase anymore. And like genuine training have come together to be like kind of the, not to sound annoying, but the peak of like my physical fitness right now.
Yeah.
And so I just have to really like you said, I have to stop and smell the roses. I kind of feel like my glory days are here, and I got to take advantage of it while I've got it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Paul?
I think, looking back, 40 years back, there's always, I've had some years where I for some reason or another, I was involved in a crash. I think I had like 8 crashes, major crashes in a race. I mean, like damaging bikes and bones and, that type of thing. And you just can't figure out. It's just like, man, my biorhythms or something's way off. I don't know. My chakra in line? What's going on?
Yeah.
So, but I think this from year to year, because, like I always say, there's always next year. I'm always surprised how much more fun I have. I just have just as much fun as I did the first year when you're just discovering this and that growing pains, but you can find that, God, that was great. When now I get this part of racing. And then the next year, especially with Cat 4s, it was like, not that I could do that, but, there's majority of the time I could ride people off my wheel.
Yeah.
And I was getting my results. Then you move up a category, and you think that's going to work.
It's
and then all of a sudden somebody rides me off their wheel. What the hell?
Yeah,
this is a different.
yeah.
And it depends. You start thinking, okay, what do I got to do differently?
This was not in the brochure.
No, it's supposed to be easy. I got 2 more years to make the Olympic team. God dang it. So it's just as long as you approach roads, if you like road cycling and want to do it for the rest of your life, and I can say that at my age now, there's no stopping. To me, it's like I'm always excited next year. I can't wait to see what gifts come in this year.
So are you that 80-year-old guy who's going to show up at nationals?
Yeah, I will be. I promise I will try and as long as I'm physically able, I will always race a bike. That's what I don't know if I would continue riding a bike if it wasn't for racing.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's how strong
that
the
competitive
racing
drive is so important.
Whether I race one time a year or not. And from the time I got into cycling in 1985, from the time there was one period I didn't race one year, and that was right after my divorce. I couldn't afford it anyway.
Yeah.
And that's where I lost my original license number. And I didn't re-up that year. And that was a miserable time, not just because of the divorce, but because I wasn't racing and I missed it that bad. It was a big portion of my life.
Yeah.
And whether it's self-esteem or just give me a purpose in life, that's it. And, later in life, there's other things that replace that, and you have to push it down and just accept that. Like where I put Sam is right now. He's married and he's working on his house and he's full-time job. Yeah. And here's somebody who was pretty successful as a Cat 2 racer. And you have to get at that. You'll never be there again and accept that. And if you don't, you'll never enjoy racing again. If you think that you're going to be at that level with those responsibilities, you're going to be miserable.
Yeah.
See, something that's really interesting is next year I'm going to be at a point where I will be technically out of a job for 3 months. I have to student teach for 3 months. And my wife and I have to come, like, we're thinking about it, like, what are we going to do during that time? And one of them was to work after my student teaching. And I came to a point where I was like, I can't do, well, I know that's a long day. A long day just, flat out. Yeah. But I also was thinking, like, I need that part of my life as well.
Absolutely.
Not whether it be a racing or whether it be just sitting at home hanging out with, or just hanging out with my wife at home. I think those are the two things that I need to have afterwards. And racing is one of those things. I thought I won't be able to race if I have to do that. And I don't know if that's a part of my life that I'm willing to, lay aside.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
Shit.
Oof.
Yeah.
Did you think it was going to get this heavy?
No. I'm glad it has, because there are this element to it, and it's an ongoing thing. And I hate the fact that in the education world they talk about lifelong learners, because it's just an overused term. But lifelong cyclist is something I've used here all the time, and it's something that, whether or not I have sometimes thought that I could walk away from racing. But I associate myself with you guys so much that I know that if I went to a race, it would make me crazy. I would be going, why am I not doing this? For example, when I was in college and I stopped cycling for a while because I was on the rowing team and I was super busy and things like that, I could not go to a race. I would not let myself go to a race just to watch, because it would make me too antsy. It would make me too God, I got to be in there. And so I know that is always going to be something in there that will always have to, an itch that needs to be scratched. I don't know, what level, but it'll always need to be there. And I find that even in our group rides, it's, somebody's dick measuring at some point in time. And it's just a funny element of it. And I guess I love it. And it doesn't just, for me, it doesn't just necessarily stay to road. I mean, my engine is really good for gravel type of events, those long drawn out death marches and things like that. And I also love racing my mountain bike. I don't love racing my mountain bike until the gun goes off, though. Whenever I'm at a mountain bike race, I'm like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I've got my number on. This is stupid. Let's go home. Oops, maybe I forgot my water bottle. Nope, gun goes off. And then all of a sudden I'm in that competitive element again. And so it's, I think it's just a part of the genetic makeup that's never going to go away. I hope. Yeah. I hope. Yeah. I hope. Even a couple of years ago, not to keep coming back to this heart condition, but even a couple of years ago, that I thought, shit, if I'm never going to be able to race again, I'm buying the fastest e-bike on the planet, and I'm going to still
stick
go
it to Sam.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, oh, I got it on the lowest mode, Sam. And even though I got it on full red, or something like that. Yeah. Just to fuck with it. Let's get to some segments, shall we, gentlemen? First of all, thank you for the conversation. That was a good one. Segments tonight brought to you by our friends at Competitive Cyclists. We encourage you to shop at the LBS, but there are times when it isn't, or is this the right bumper? I'll go with it. I usually have done the news now. That's why it's screwing me up. Yeah. Competitive Cyclists. Wow, Pat, you don't stop during a competitive sponsor read. Oh, well, use our link as it supports the show. No, we do not charge a subscription. We got a couple segments tonight. Jackson usually goes last, right? Don't you? Is that how we do it? Because it's the cool down. Sure. It's the cool down. Yeah. So with Paul tonight, it is Changing Times with Paul, and the theme for tonight is immersion. And I'm anxious to hear, because sometimes we always tend to kind of touch base on where your segment goes, and I'm anxious to see where it cross paths this time.
So this came up because after my father-in-law died, my mother-in-law comes over to our place while I'm at the podcast.
Oh. And
my wife and her are able to, kind of join up. Renee makes dinner, and they watch German television while I'm gone. And it's so weird when I come in, they'll be talking German and I can pick up a little bit, but I think I've gone over there 12 times in my life, and with family where the only person who speaks English is my wife, because I'm not hanging in a tour group.
Yeah.
But by the end of 2 weeks, it's amazing how much I grasp the conversation. And I've learned, but all of a sudden, I think that I'm on fire. I'm going to come home and I'm going to get Babbel or something and start doing these courses.
Because there's always more time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's different. And when you're in that immersion of that language and the culture and everything, it picks up all through book learning and everything. For me, it was just this is not coming. This is not going. And it made me start thinking about bike racing, where earlier I touched on about making decisions. It's a reaction, and handling your bike. The more you race, the more time you put on it. You have to look back and be proud of yourself for making these decisions, or not having to think about it. Because when I was learning German, one of the examples of me bogging down was the German teacher that I was seeing for tutoring. He says, your problem is you're taking every word and trying to translate it. So when you hear the word Tisch, that means table. You don't have to say, so Tisch is table. You're too far behind.
Oh.
You have to be like that. So you just have to get to the point where when you're immersed, you don't get time that you just pick up these words and you can fill in the gaps pretty soon.
Yeah.
And then you can follow the conversation. And same, the more you learn the vocabulary when you're in that immersion. And I think that's the same with race tactics and racing your bike. If you have a Tuesday night, Wednesday night series, local series or something, do that. You will learn a lot. Just pretty soon things start flowing. And it's kind of a fun part until you reflect back at the end of the year. You don't realize how many decisions you made just instantly just because, it's just a reaction. You're not thinking table, you're thinking Tisch. And this is the Tisch. So anyway, that was it. So I think that's something that people should just, if you want to be good at racing, race a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't spend so much time training and looking at numbers and stuff like that. I think that's kind of lost in this. It's like, I'm not producing my numbers today. It doesn't matter. You got to shut that stuff off. And I was thinking about proposing something just for like a little test that all of us do a Tuesday night series with our computers out of sight, but record everything.
Yeah.
And then before you look at your numbers, kind of guess where you were at and how well you did. And it'll be interesting to see.
Oh my God. Yeah. I know personally, I've become so really heavily dependent upon that data, and I don't know why. Mm-hmm. Well, it's the nerd in me, but I find myself going, and I've got to, especially, I want to keep recording my power numbers, but I don't ever want to see them in a race again.
No.
Mm. You know what you've got on your wrist right now?
What?
Something that connects to a power meter.
This does?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
So
I bought a new watch this week.
So you, and now I, can do the exact same thing. We
What?
could just record it on our wrist, and
You don't have
I'm
to
never
have
going to
it.
look at it in a race.
I've got to switch my home screen. I mean, my race screen, I think I want to go back to the old Avocet computers. I want speed, distance, and time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Yeah.
I don't think I need anything more than that.
Well, I got rid of.
Especially in a race effort.
I think I've explained. I got rid of my Avocet 35. That was the last one I had. In 1990, it was a big crash. Cracked the screen. Couldn't afford it. It cut one of my Continental competition tubulars, and that was a priority. I had to get a new race tire.
Yeah.
And no computer. And I realized that so many times, like in crits or something, where it's just like intense. You're looking at. I look down at the speed, and it's like we're not even halfway through.
Yeah.
And we're averaging 31, 32 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And it's like I could feel myself like cracking. But when you don't have that information, you're just like, I have to stay on this wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Don't. And that's how I race. I mean, to me, it's all from the seat of your pants and just by feel. And you don't have that option. Like, why isn't I can't sustain this power. Well, if you don't, buddy, you're off the back.
The race is over.
Yeah. You have to do. You're going to be breaking a lot of your power. Well, we've heard Sam talk about he had his best like 20-minute power, because something went bad, and it's always during a race or even a gravel thing. So, yeah, be interesting to see. If
great
you guys
data
are willing
to maybe
do
find out after the workout. So,
exactly. Get that information because then you can get kind of an idea if you want to keep record. But don't let it make your decision in the race because your power numbers or your heart rate or screw the heart rate.
Yeah,
that's for you, Pat.
Well, you know what though? I know when my heart's going wonky.
Yeah.
I know, and if it ever, I would not ever need a computer to go, well, that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I feel it. It's like somebody stepping on my chest. So it's like I don't have it, and my heart rate strap is never going to diagnose the actual problem. Mm-hmm. It can't read that. So it does me no good. Mm-hmm. I mean, and so maybe it's like, shit, what am I doing? But should I even keep the heart rate strap and just rely on what my watch is telling me and look at that data afterwards?
I mean, you could. You could.
Do you guys use heart rate straps?
Only on the trainer.
Only on the trainer.
I broadcast my heart rate from my Garmin.
You
watch.
do? Okay.
But I don't really care about it.
To
my Wahoo.
To your Wahoo.
Yeah. It just doesn't really make a difference. I just like to look at it afterwards. I don't even have it on the screen.
Yeah. I used to have it on the screen. Well, actually, I think I still do have it on the screen. I got everything on the screen. I'm an idiot. This is my problem. I'm learning too much. I need to be the young, dumb, and full of cum high school student that I used to be. It's just like, go fast.
Well, I find that
faster.
Even when I'm in a race, my head unit's right there, and I never look at it.
Yeah.
I looked at it when I was in a breakaway, just because that's a little bit more measure your effort. Is it really that, like, am I really doing as much as I should be? Should I be doing less, kind of thing? Yeah. But that's the only time I ever used it. But
immersion. I like that. I like the tactical element. I like the informational element, the feel of it. I know, and there's probably somebody who's listening to this right now going, that data is critical. We live in a modern time. Important. It is, but maybe not during the event itself.
Sometimes,
unless you're like, I'm sure Roger's going to chime in, and because Roger in his efforts that he does, Jackson's drinking the same, backwash that he has for, But I'm sure in his style of efforts, he has to maintain a specific number, and he has to hit it and hold it and stay there, because that's that style of racing he does. I would like to know, for a guy like him, when he comes to our Twilight Series races, is he relying upon data, or is he just going old school out of field? Because he started with us, and he is a bike racer to his core. And so
I know one time over the last year when he did think about data, and that was when he led me out for a whole lap. That was probably just like,
do you think that was data, or do you think he just slammed it?
Honestly, I don't know, because
I know that guy, and I bet he just slammed it. I bet he just went, I'm going to go as hard as I can.
Yeah, max.
That was crazy. I was still blown away by that.
Yeah. Guy's beast. Beast. That's really sounded dorky. I will never say that again. Never.
We're all self-reflective.
Yeah. I've learned from this experience.
You're a lifelong
learned. Oh shit!
Can't get it out of me. Good night, everybody. Peace.
Little cool down with Jackson Bulger, sponsored by. You could be the sponsor of Jackson's Cool Down segment.
You could be. Anyways, I have, as I mentioned earlier, I've been starting a training plan over the last week, and I felt pretty good with it. There are some that I've been thinking, damn, this just won't fit tonight. Or I might have to just delete one from the schedule, which I kind of like that I'm able to do.
Yeah.
But being faithful to it is what I'm really, really trying to do, because I've set them up and I've never been faithful to them before. And I do find there's something good in them. I think that this goes all the way up to almost the beginning date of our crit series, with a little bit of time in between. And I do think that it's going to have some sort of improvement to
indoor based. Excuse me.
Yes, it's indoor based.
Okay.
But I think it's going to have some sort of like positive effect, just for myself. And I know that I'm going to skip some going outdoors with you guys doing that stuff, but I think that's just as beneficial as doing the stuff indoors. Yeah. And so, do you guys follow training plans, or are you just by the seat of your pants at this point?
I was going to call you out at the beginning of the segment, because there have been times on this show that I've been like, okay, I started a training program. What do you guys do? And you're like, I just pick workout.
I used to be that way, and then I found
you were that way up until this year. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, but I found that this year, I think that consistency is what I need when it comes to when I have such a time crunch. On all times. So I need something in front of me to look at and be like, this is what I'm going to do on this day.
Yeah. I have designed training programs for myself since 1986.
Right.
I'm not lying. I still do to this day. I have notepads and sketchbooks all over where I have, people will see it has an MTWTFSASU. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I do 6-week cycles, and build for 6 weeks, reduce slightly 1 week, build for the next, and then so a 12-week macro cycle, stuff like that. I have been doing that forever, and I've been programming those things forever, and I have but I have all the ideas. I just have yet to completely find a moment in my life where I can implement it. And I think a big problem is I plan too much. I plan longer this is the first year, as I said at the onset of the show, that I've ever been able to sit down and go, okay, I can get up in the morning and do 35 minutes of intensity. And Pat, that's a workout. You're okay. It counts. It'll make you faster. Mm-hmm. And so I think I've been over planning my training programs, and I need to design something that's a little bit more realistic. But yeah, and I've also done some of and I don't want to say generic because they're not. I mean, the system workout training plans are legit. They're good, and they base off of numbers you've established. So yes, you and I might do the same workout, but you're doing whatever watts, and I'm doing whatever watts, and it tailors that workout to who you are. Shit, I got to join system again, motherfucker.
So it all comes back to
yeah. But yeah, I do, and I always have. And whether it was prescribed to me or not, I remember a training program I had in college by my French coach, Eric Calmond, where it would say 3 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the afternoon. And I'm not joking. And then the next day would be 2 hours in the morning, 3.5 in the afternoon. And it was always constant like that. And I stuck to it like it was scripture. And I
53-17 in the drops.
Yeah, 53-17. You had to have your hands in the drops, and you couldn't stand up.
Yep.
Even on climbs.
Crazy.
Yeah. And so, that was a very long answer, but it's a podcast. So, that's what podcasts do. All
exactly. I used to have a schedule. And then the older I get, and we were talking about stress, nothing's more stressful than, damn it, I missed that. I got to get that workout.
Yeah.
So I've tailored that back. It's a loose schedule, and I don't try and back up. It's like, well, I missed my intervals. So if I miss them, I miss them. That's all there is to it.
I do that too. I've just
grandkids,
didn't happen. Yeah.
Now families, getting older, there's sometimes, and so it was a lot easier just to let that go. So at my stage of my life, it's whatever I can get, I can get.
Yeah.
And your father was the brunt of that, where my wife was, I can't remember what it was. Some reason I said, hey, can I use the rollers down in your place? I had to be out of the house. And he's, I got Christmas boxes in there.
I still do.
Yeah.
They're so bad.
Well, and it's like, I should just bring the rollers but I had to be out of the house, but I didn't. Yeah. It was a cold winter day. I can't do anything else. And it's like, that's the part I miss about having a house and not living in a condo. So, I mean, I have my long days are the weekends.
Yeah.
And I try and get an interval sometime in there. If I can get some power workout in that week, that's good. That's all I can stick with.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I'll try to do it week by week too. I'll probably try to do like, okay, what's this week looking like? Okay, Tuesday's actually a light day. I think I'll get up in the morning and do that day. And so I can't say every Tuesday I'm getting up in the morning.
Sure.
But I can go week to week and building upon last week. And it's funny, Jackson, you mentioned that you'll delete a workout. This is, again, my good old self-centered Catholic guilt. I will leave the workout on the schedule, and it'll go red.
Yeah.
It's like, you missed, you wrong, you loser. And I'm like, okay, I don't want any red. I want more green than red. So, yeah.
I think I've also kind of do a little what David does in a different way. How he says, leave it for 30 minutes, and if you do more, that's great.
Yeah.
I have put it into a form of, if I do 3 workouts during this week, then that's great. If I do 4, even 5, then I'm rocking it.
Yeah. Yeah. You feel like a god.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. I think there's something in it. Obviously, there's something in it because that's what the professionals do.
Yeah.
But, I'm just willing to turn over a new leaf of training this year and try and get it right.
I'm anxious to see how that turns out.
I really am too.
I don't have a fear that it won't.
No, I don't either. I think it's going to be pretty much a very similar way of what I did last year, but now with other things going on in my life, this is just a way of scheduling it.
Yeah.
So
those stresses I talked about earlier in the show, I keep thinking to myself, okay, Super Bowl Sunday is when my next show ends. And I'm like, okay, everything's going to be great after that. Bullshit. Things aren't something's going to come up. It's going to be something every year. And so what you got to do is you got to go, okay, tomorrow, Tomorrow, okay, yeah, I think I can get my ass out of bed tomorrow, and do it. It's like Mao when he was talking about how he tricks himself by setting his alarm, but showing his alarm is later, so he gets up and does that. Speaking of which, Mao's sending me another article for the blog, so stay tuned, everybody, because he's going to be posting some stuff. Good writing from him. So it's tough, man. You just got it day by day, or year by year, or have it and put it on your headstone next year.
Yep.
Hang my
That's
medal.
how I'm gonna do.
Yeah, exactly.
There it is.
Okay, you guys, thanks a ton, and we probably will outrun the outro, but before I get to the final question, be sure to like and subscribe to the show on our YouTube channel. You guys, pop us a review every now and then. It's kind of fun to get that stuff, and it also helps. If you review us or if you subscribe to us, it helps other people find us and things like that. Share it with a friend. So tonight's final K, gentlemen. This might take more than the outro. What is your best winter sucks ride memory or moment? Like winter blows. What one would you pick?
2 years ago, we were all, well, not all. Paul, you weren't there for it. It was me, Dad, you were there, and then Sam and David. We all went out in March, and we were like, this is going to be great. It's nice out. And then we get out to the Palouse. There's no tree coverage whatsoever.
Oh,
and it starts snowing sideways. And that was...
I felt great on that ride.
Yeah, we were all... I mean, none of us were feeling poor, but it was just like one of those moments where we were all like, man, this kind of sucks. And it's not even... That wasn't even winter. That was probably like spring, but it was just... that was the moment where I was like, I hate this weather.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I have tons like that. But probably the worst one was Dismount Dave and I rode quite a bit together. And it was, I said, let's ride tomorrow. So he wakes up and he goes, dude, it is 5 degrees. Au revoir. I said, listen, there's no, we're going to be the only ones out there. Just think how tough we're going to be. So he lived up on the top of South Hill and he rode down, and I was just finishing up getting ready. He goes, it's bad, Paul. I mean, it is really bad because you don't realize the wind, the windshield factor.
Yeah. Oh,
we dropped down. I lived on 16th, so we went about 20 blocks down to downtown. It was all downhill. You're not turning over a pedal in anger. So, and I go, I got a fucking ice cream headache just going down a hill. And I was like so stiff, and I was like, I can't do this. So we rode back up and drank coffee and beer.
Oh, okay.
That's perfect.
That was it. But it was miserable. That was just like the dumb. My fingers were already frozen.
Yeah.
And it was like less than 4 minutes.
I remember the time you and I stopped at a Circle K and you had to run your hands under the water, under the faucet. That was a bad day.
Yeah,
I will say, honestly, one of the most recent ones I remember was when I think the three of us were on that ride where we left and then it just started pouring and it got so wet that you actually Paul, launched off the front. You're like going, I have to go hard because if I don't, I'll freeze to death.
Yeah, we had some people kind of dragging behind.
Yeah.
And we rode with a different group at that time. Yeah. And my hands were like, I couldn't even brake.
Oh, my God. Yeah. And I do remember some old rides back in Colorado Springs where we would be in fixed gear and spinning your ass off and freezing your ass off in those cold weathers and stuff like that. Thank God. I'm sorry. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but thank God for indoor training. It is just to be able to. And I know the fat bikers are out there going, come on, man. If it ain't outside, it doesn't count. Well, it's fuck that. because it's just, oh, my God.
That's
you
right.
don't have to.
I don't need it to count. If I hurt that bad and have a miserable time on the bike,
yeah,
I don't want to.
We're past that, right?
Yeah, I'm over that. It's all, if it's cold, I'm indoors.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please remind me next week to stop my wife from texting about campsites because my watch has been buzzing so much it's about to fall off my wrist.
I know, I'm trying to keep up a little.
She's really excited about a camp trip, and she's texting Jackson's wife, and you are as well.
I'm excited about it too, but Can
we bring our bikes, you think?
No, I'm not bringing mine.
I'm bringing my bike. Catch you guys next week. Oh, who's best Wapel? 1, 2, 3.